Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jump and today I'll be reviewing Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which was released on the 6th of November of 2025. Now, the main plot of this story is that it takes place or tells the story of the Imprisoning War that we heard throughout the course of Tears of the Kingdom, because in Tears of the Kingdom, at the start of the game, we saw the murals about the Imprisoning War, and then we heard about the sages talk about it throughout the various dungeons in the game, and this is basically those events, and those are basically the events of when Zelda goes back in time through the use of the secret stone that was on Mario's hand at the start of Tears of the Kingdom, and it all leads up to the events, or basically goes through those events up until when Mario sacrifices himself to stop Ganondorf, and as well as Zelda taking her secret stone and becoming a dragon, and it basically tells all of those events in the way that they happen. So Ganondorf summoning in a swarm of Molduga, him taking Selnia's secret stone and becoming the Demon King, Raru, as well as the other sages, basically just trying to fight all of Ganondorf's hordes of monsters and stuff like that, and this is really fun. I think, if you compare Age of Imprisonment to Age of Calamity, I would say that Age of Imprisonment is really fun. I think it's a lot better in some aspects than compared to Age of Calamity, because with Age of Calamity, it's one of those games as I think it could be canon, but not really, because I would say with Age of Calamity, it's semi-canon in the fact that it does tell the effects, or not the effects. It does tell the story of the Great Calamity before the events of Breath of the Wild, but it does go into the sort of fanfic type of territory, in the sense that it kind of changes the lore a bit in the whole Breath of the Wild, Age of Calamity part of those series of games, where you've got Terrako going back in time, and basically as well, bringing back the champion descendants as well, and that kind of diverts away from Breath of the Wild in terms of canon and stuff like that. But whereas with Age of Imprisonment, there is no big lore change thing, in the sense that what happens, what you see in Age of Imprisonment, and a lot of the stuff you see happen in that game actually happens, and there's no big time travel thing that happens. The only time travel that happens is Zelda going back in time to the start of Hyrule and the Imprisoning War, and that's really cool. And I think all the characters you play as are really cool and fun to play as, because you've got characters like Zelda, Raru, Minoru, the sages, but you've also got some other characters, like you've got the Knight's Construct, or Kalmako, the little cork guy in the game. I think it's called Kalmako. I think I'm pronouncing his name wrong, but he's also this little cork guy, and he's got a construct that has a bit of the Master Sword in it, which is really cool. And they've got their own unique moves, and also in Age of Calamity and the first Hyrule Warriors game, you've also got some side characters you can play as well, and you can unlock them by just doing certain missions in certain parts of the game. And yeah, that's really cool. And I think each character you play against, or play as, I should say, all have their own unique abilities and moves that you can play as. And I think they're a whole lot better than in Age of Calamity, because I'm mainly going to be comparing Age of Calamity to Age of Imprisonment. So that's where I'm going to be when it comes to the combat and stuff. Because with Age of Calamity, not Calamity, Age of Imprisonment, all of the characters all feel unique, and they all feel uniquely different when it comes to their moves. So, for example, with Zelda, she has the use of a Zonite sword, but she uses her sacred power to fuse the sword into into a blade, and then she can use it to summon light attacks and reverse it, as well as using the sword herself to to like levitate and just hit enemies and then rewind it, and then you've got Raru, who again uses a zonite or zonai device or zonai weapon basically, but he uses it differently, and he mainly uses his sacred light to basically create beams of light and stuff like that. So even though some characters share the same weapon, they use their abilities uniquely differently, and there is some bit of that in Age of Calamity, but I feel like the combat in Age of Imprisonment feels a whole lot better and it runs a whole lot more smoothly, so yeah. And now it's time for some gameplay. So when it comes to the gameplay of Age of Imprisonment, the map, first of all, is pretty much similar it's the same sort of thing in Age of Calamity, because they're both using Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom map. But when you compare, like when you go do the different things, like missions, the side quests, getting character upgrades, that sort of thing, you can see that the map is done slightly differently than in Age of Calamity, because yes, you can see that there are these red areas. Now, when Ganondorf takes Sonia's Secret Stone and becomes a Demon King, the entire map is red, and that basically just shows where Ganondorf is taking control of that particular territory. So when he takes Sonia's Secret Stone and becomes a Demon King, the entire map is red. But as you progress throughout the game, the more battles you win, the less and less Ganondorf will hold over a particular territory. Now, as you progress through the game, you will sometimes have missions that will have you try and protect a particular territory from enemies and stuff like that. So you have to look out for those ones. But if we go to, let's say, this one, you will, like in Age of Calamity, you will be given like some characters to play as, and a particular level, so like level 38 for this one, for example, or level 4 for another one. And like in
my spear will
every
go down
other
if I keep sitting around here.
Hyrule Warriors game, including Age of Imprisonment, you can either have a character that can only be playable in this one, like that's locked in, or a character that you can like switch out and around with. So I've got the nice construct currently in this position, but I might go in and pick a character like Raru, Kalamo, Minoru, Rafika, there we go, Ardi, or any of the other characters that you might want to play as. So for this, I might go as Raru. I might choose Raru for this.
I will see us prevail.
And let me show. I'm not really used
in the camp, there are these the camp effects you can do. So like, and as you can see, you can get you can have different effects. So special attack, or special charge attack, experience, movement, that sort of thing. But you can also change the things. So you might have a special charge attack, as well as extra material drops or unique skill cooldowns. So you might want to, so you can change it up a bit. So like, oh, I might need a particular resource for a particular mission or something like that. But yeah, and also you'll get rewards or materials that can help you with different effects. So for example, I might want a combat scenario, or I might want the characters to have a better attack, or something like that. So I might use a ruby, a bomb flower, and then if I want something like the material drop or something like that, I might want a hearty bass and a big hearty radish. Then if I want my skill cooldowns, then I might want a bright bloom seed and a sneaky river snail, or let's say a sticky frog, for example. So it's always good to mix and match stuff depending on the situations, all the things you need. So let's go into the fight, and I can show you more about the battles and stuff.
To battle!
Because I think out of the Age of insert name here, like Age of Calamity, Age of Imprisonment, I would say that out of those two games based on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, when it comes to the backstory, I would say that Age of Calamity, not Age of Calamity, Age of Imprisonment runs a whole lot more smoothly. And like in Age of Calamity, for the moves and stuff, in Age of Imprisonment, you will have moves as well as abilities based on Age of based on the moves you find in stuff in Age of Age of Calamity, Tears of the Kingdom. So, for example, as you can see, I can use the Zonate devices on the enemies, and also what's cool about just as that, the moves you can do with some stages will work a whole lot against enemies that might have certain effects. So because I'm in Zora's Domain and in Tears of the Kingdom, a lot of the enemies you will see a lot of areas that have muck on them. As you can see here, I can use the Zora Sage's ability to take away the muck, and I think that's really cool. It elevates the moves and stuff like that. So again, also like in the other Hyrule Warrior games, you can switch between the characters and just have like a lot of cool interesting move attacks. So now I switch back to Mia, I believe, yeah. And also every character, every enemy will have a unique ability or something that'll have you do the particular ability, which I think is quite cool because it adds to that sort of it's adds to the moves and stuff, I might need to use a certain ability to attack a particular character, a particular character, a particular enemy, or a particular boss type enemy. So that's quite cool. And I think that's what helps. I think what makes this game better than Age of Calamity, because at Age of Calamity you had really cool, unique moves, but you did have access to the Sheikah Slate, so I think it was fun, but I think if everyone had access to the Sheikah Slate, then it kind of felt a bit boring because it's just either use stasis or stasis, magnesis, cryonis, that sort of thing. But because every single character has their own unique abilities in a unique way, I think that's what made this game a whole lot better than Age of Calamity. And also, you can switch characters to use certain abilities, and also you can use sync abilities. And every single character has them, and they all will change depending on the character. So if you're playing as Mia, she'll always use a water shield on characters, which I think is quite cool. And I think each one is really unique. And yeah, so it's cool to see different ones being used with different characters. So Rauru and Minoru will have a bunch of Zonite devices, and they'll use against the enemies and stuff like that. And yeah, I think as a whole, the gameplay is really fun, and I think it's just a lot of fun, and it has a lot basically just a whole lot of replayability when compared to Age of Calamity. And I think as a whole it's really fun. So yeah, that's the gameplay. Now I'm going to go back to the review. So as a whole, I would say that Age of Imprisonment is a really fun game, and I think it takes a lot of the elements from Age of Calamity and makes it a whole lot better, because if you look at this main story mode, for example, it does take a bit to get to the actual, in terms of Calamity Ganon taking control of the Divine Beast and the Guardians, whereas with Age of Imprisonment, it's takes the first few missions, 3 or 4. So for example, here's the mission that that Calamity kind of can take control of the Guardians and the Divine Beasts. And here is the mission where Ganondorf takes Sonia's Secret Stone and becomes a Demon King. And you can see that those are very different in terms of the amount of time you get to do those particular missions and how far you go to get into those bits. And I think with Age of Calamity, I think it helps because we're in that game because it helps develop characters like the champions more, because we rarely got to see a lot about the champions in the memories and even the Divine Beasts in Breath of the Wild. But I think Age of Calamity does help with that because we get to see more about the champions and what they were like 100 years before the event of Breath of the Wild. But with Age of Imprisonment, we're just right into the start. We're just all guns blazing. Here it is. We're going to the Imprisoning War and just enjoy. In terms of like, here's what happened. Here's the events that led up to it. And now we're into this Imprisoning War and just doing a whole bunch of missions left, right, and center. And yeah, I think both games games do help with their own unique games when comparing, like, because like Age of Calamity is like does help a lot with Breath of the Wild into the character stuff, and Age of Imprisonment does help a lot with the story stuff and some of the character elements with Tears of the Kingdom. And yeah, I would say as a whole, it's a whole lot of fun. I think it does keep a lot of the same elements that it does have in Age of Calamity. Like, you have certain areas to 100%. You've got characters to level up. You've got missions to do where you have to collect certain things like Korok seeds, enemy parts, fruit like apples or stuff like fish, stuff like that. So you can like level up your character's heart or their special gauge or stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's really cool of how this game sort of like streamlines it, the stuff like that a lot more than in Age of Calamity. So yeah, so overall, it's a very fun game, and I highly suggest you get this game if you've liked the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, those games, but also the other Hyrule Warriors games. And if you're starting in the series as a whole, I would highly suggest this. It's just getting this game because it's really fun. But I would say that you get it after you've played Tears of the Kingdom, because I think a lot of those stuff will definitely help when playing Age of Imprisonment. So yeah. So that's been my review for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video.